On the issue of increasing the number of seats to 63 and one additional seat to Rodrigue, we are in favor. On the issue of doing away with the requirement for anyone to to declare his community, we are all in favor. On the issue of amending the Constitution to ensure better representation of women in Parliament, we are all in favor. On the issue of having an anti-defection law, although it could be improved, but we'll still vote in favor. So what we are not in agreement with the government today is only on the issue of the seats to be allocated on the PR list and the 6 to 10 additional seats to be allocated pursuant to the additional seats. And this is why we had urged the government to separate the issues instead of lumping everything in the first schedule as it is the case today. Today, if you agree with 90% of this bill, but not with the allocation of seats, the whole bill falls apart. So it's as if, we are being done like chantage, If you want to have better representation of women, if you want 63 seats in Rodrigue, if you want anti-defection, vote for PR, vote for additional seats. And this is what we don't agree, and this is why, despite what the Honourable Bodha have just mentioned, we still believe that the government should come before the House with a separate bill covering the anti-defection, covering the better representation of women. Even if they all vote in favor, they have only 45 seats, 45 votes. And you need 52 votes to get this bill. So when you know you have only 45 votes and you need 52, what do? You talk, you discuss, you compromise. But what has this government done? We know as far back as September 2018, after the Honourable Prime Minister did his press conference and announced to the public what he has in mind in terms of electoral reform. That was live. And like what Honourable Bodha said, we commended, but not just the MMM. I know that most political parties, not even political parties, members of civil societies, express their views. We did it loud and clear at the press conference that we do not agree with what is being proposed. We stated that, this is not what the MMM wants. And we said it so, that we are not agreeable with the number of seats allocated to PR because it's too low. And we're not agreeable with this, Paul Bérenger used the term accordion, this thing about adding 6 to 10 MPs to fix any disbalance which results from the allocation of PR seats. And we stated what was our position. The Honourable Prime Minister knows that what he is proposing today has been criticized by the opposition, has been rejected since September 2018. And yet, not an iota of change. We tell the government, we don't agree, we have fundamental differences with you. And instead of proposing amendment, they come forward with the same bill, same wording, knowing that they don't command a majority. We may not agree with what Honourable Minister Mento said all the time. Some of us may think that he's too conservative. Some may call him retrograde. Honourable Paul Bérenger even referred to him as having an obsession mythique with the problems in Rodrigue and their experience with proportional representation. But at least he has the courage of his conviction. He has the courage of his conviction. He's always believed in first past the post, and he will always believe in that system. A system that has served him well. And if it was left to him alone, he would not change the system. And this is why, even if this bill is proposing to modify the first past the post system by adding a dose of proportional representation, what is the bill also doing immediately? Whatever they're giving in one hand, they're taking back in the other hand. All the members who have intervened on the other side have said that it is unfair. Post 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 is unfair. We need a dose of proportional representation. We need to reduce this unfairness. And then they all agree with these additional seats to nullify any impact with the allocation of PR seats may have on the election results. So it is, like my kids usually, when they are among themselves, they like to say, donner, c'est donner, reprendre, c'est voler. Donner, c'est donner, reprendre, c'est voler. You've given PR seats, and then you're taking it back for additional seats. This is why, at the MMM, we say it's a non-réforme. C'est une non-réforme. Because you're not doing any reform by adding these additional seats. And since independence, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we all know there has been only one true three-corner fight in this country. That was in 1976. 1976, when the MMM won 30 seats, Labour Party with CM won 25 seats, PMSD won 7 seats, including 2 Rom Rodrigues. After allocation of best losers, MMM had 34 MPs, Labour CM 28, PMSD 8 MPs. The MMM won fair and square. But what did the Labour Party and the PMSD do? They formed a coalition and denied MMM the right to govern. So this first past the post system that is being hailed like the Holy Grail in this country has resulted in 1976 with the party having obtained the greatest number of votes, with the party having obtained the greatest number of seats, with the party having the most popular support being denied the right to govern, the legitimate right to govern. This is the first part of the post. It doesn't ensure stability. And since then, Mr. Deputy Speaker, what have we seen? No one has dared contest the election alone, except for the MMM. No one. And let me say now, clear to the nation, despite what Honorable Kaviramano may think, if we have to do it again, if MMM has to go alone to the election, we'll do it. MSM never. MSM, you have to clap. You have to clap, Honorable Prime Minister. You are totally right to clap. You have totally right. You are totally right to applaud. Because the MSM, you have ruled this country, père et fils, for decades. Never once in your history, never once in your history have you had the courage to stay and face the electorate alone. Never. So that's why you have to applaud. You're right to applaud. Yes, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, Honorable Minister Mentor. This is precisely what I'm saying. This system has served the MSM well by making sure that they are each time returning power by having political alliance. And as Honorable Minister Mentor said, he's practical. There's no problem compromising as long as, they are the Prime Minister, then our thing is negotiable. We are practical. I don't blame them for that. And the Labour Party is no better. They also did not introduce any bill on political reform. In fact, in 2014, when they proposed and voted the constitutional amendment to do away with the requirement for a candidate to declare his community, what we call the mini-amendment, let it be remembered, it is the MMM, it is Paul Bérenger who first came with this formula to amend, they call it the mini-amendment, but to amend the constitution, replacing shall by may, so that a candidate does not have to declare his community. Le PMSD, n'en parlons pas. Ils sont plus intéressés à se faire belle, jolie mamzelle, to write on the back of the Nate major party. And I don't blame them. Don't get me wrong, I don't blame them. They are so used to what in our good old Creole we say, les 5 sous qui manquent pour faire une roupie. I'm not criticizing them. They are used to pre-electoral alliance. They know that is what being practical, Honorable Minister Mentero. They know that on their own strength, they will not rally sufficient support to have an MP elected. Therefore, what they do, maquillage, joli, and then piggyback on buying wagon. You can understand the deep sense of anger that we, honorable members from the MMM, had to endure listening to Honorable Sinatambu on Saturday, and then Honorable Jumai trying to blame us for not supporting the electoral reform, when in truth and in fact, MMM is probably the only political party who has ever since 1986 fought for electoral reform. And how wicked to assert that what separates the government from the MMM is just a question of numbers. No, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it's not a question of numbers. We have compromised in the past on numbers. We can compromise on numbers. Numbers is not an issue. I really would have expected Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, when he intervened on Friday on this bill, I really wanted him to tell us why he changed his mind. Why he had felt, he and other members of the committee had felt so strongly against the parallel system, and today he is defending it all out, even trying to convince us to become convert like him, even telling us, come, join the bandwagon, I've changed. Yes, I know you've changed, but why should we change? We believe that genuinely the compensatory method is better than the parallel method. When the Honorable Paul Bérenger stated that we are considering to vote under protest, that is what he had in mind. If you come up with an electoral reform, we may not entirely agree with it, but if at least it's improved on what we have, we will consider voting it under protest. That is why on the PR issue, there is room for compromise. But where there is no room for compromise is we in the MMM will never vote for an electoral system which does not ensure a fair and adequate representation of all the components of our rainbow nation. Unfortunately, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the bill before the House today falls short of ensuring a fair and adequate representation of all the components of our rainbow nation, and I will vote against it. Thank you.